All right, today is April 25, 2018. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes CSI Implementation Group. Today on the agenda, first up, an update from Luis on tasks completed. Look like you've been very busy, Luis. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a lot of things because we've had so much time in between meetings. So, the first one is the documentation, how to backport commits. So, I remember Sergey had some questions how to do that, and and we had some more documentation that we needed for how is it that we do release management. So,
Right.
Jan started out that document and I added which was pretty good. So I only added the second part, which is how is it that we do, how does anyone do backports to another account? So I put it there, the steps to do backport. So
Okay. Backport is the same as a cherry pick, I imagine.
yes, exactly. You can see the cherry pick right there.
Got it.
So
Sweet. So if anybody is interested in pulling a change into a release, this is how you do it, and it'll apply to external provisioner as well as external attacher and driver registrar.
yeah, that's actually the normal backport flow for anything in GitHub or anything.
Nice.
So in Git. So
Cool.
now I don't have to do it by hand. So you can just point people and say, do this and send me the PR.
Nice.
Second thing is that the external provisioner 0.21 has been released.
Sweet.
So, and
do we have release notes on there saying what's new?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and I didn't feel like putting in like exactly what to be, because you can do a mouse over and it tells you what it is.
Yep.
Second thing is E2E test for version 1.21 is out. Waiting. It's being run right now. I did that like an hour ago.
Okay.
So it's to fix those flaky. No, it hasn't run yet. It's
okay.
not checked in. But luckily, what we'll see at the bottom is that it'll work. We'll merge it, and then we'll watch how the flaky tests go down. Because I checked the flakes; they're all about timeouts, every single one. So.
And 0.20 or 0.20 didn't have the timeout fix in there.
It didn't have like 5 fixes in it, so.
Okay, 0.21 hopefully has the timeout.
It does.
Timeout fix.
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right, we'll keep an eye on that then. Driver's proposal.
Yep. It's quite simple. I just delete a bunch of stuff. It's really, I branch it and then start, I rename the repo from drivers to drivers host path. So it's only host path in there.
Yep.
And then I remove everything else. And then I just clean up the documentation. That's it.
Cinder gets removed. CSI Common gets removed. Flex adapter gets removed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
This is just what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to not have a whole bunch of drivers in one repo. If what we can do is that any of these can have driver dash. You see how driver dash host path? You can just driver dash flex adapter, and it's just going to be branched, so it's not going to delete the repo. So.
Yeah. So. Okay, that makes sense. As long as there is a new home for each one of these drivers that's being removed, I'm perfectly happy with that then.
Yeah.
So if you remove...
Whoa. Go ahead.
I just have a question on the CSI Commons. I thought that's required, isn't it?
No, that's exactly what I'm trying to prevent. That's exactly. You don't need that. It's actually simpler to just go right to the gRPC stuff. And that caused a lot of confusion for people who write drivers who think that they require that, and you do not. So what happens is that CSI Commons is to say, you could use this if you want to, but you don't have to. It's actually, I find it much easier to go right to the interface of gRPC.
So if you remove it, it's not going to break any existing drivers, right? I guess that's my question.
It's going to be in a branch. So if you pulled it, and you probably did a go dep or whatever, then you're going to be just fine. But you're going to have to then update it to wherever it moves to later. Why would be driver-CSI Common, which will have a big thing is stop using this thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't use it anymore.
Are people using the CSI Common library at all?
I remember the NFS drivers referencing it, I thought. But I need to check and see.
Okay, just put a comment in there. You can follow up offline.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Luis.
I think Brad had a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to start the process to get the CSI Flex probably into the Kubernetes repo, right? Since that's something that we would intend.
The Flex adapter?
Yeah.
I mean, Kubernetes CSI is a Kubernetes repo, so I'm perfectly happy leaving it under Kubernetes CSI org. I like this idea that Luis has of having separate repos inside this organization for multiple drivers. So driver-host path, yeah, that makes sense under Kubernetes CSI. Driver-flex adapter, I would be happy with having that here as well.
The steering committee's direction on this was anything that's going to be packaged and shipped with Kubernetes should eventually be in Kubernetes proper. We intend to package and ship Flex CSI. I mean, I assume
we have a number of packages that will be packaged and shipped here, right? External attacher, external provisioner. In terms of drivers, I think having Kubernetes specific drivers like host path, Flex, potentially others in the future under Kubernetes CSI makes perfect sense to me. It's the ones where the ownership is not clearly attributed to Kubernetes that become problematic. So iSCSI, NFS, those we should find a better home for. Cinder, of course, which has already found a good home, so we're happy there.
Yep.
But I'm perfectly okay leaving Flex adapter in the Kubernetes-CSI organization. It is officially sanctioned by the CNCF as a Kubernetes organization, so I don't think it's problematic with that regard.
I think I like it because it puts everything that's CSI specific in this home. So
right.
And the way I feel about it is that it looks like anything in this home is a community project. So,
I want to say this is a warning. I mean, that's not really what the steering committee is directing us towards. Like they want stuff in SIGs. What is it? Kubernetes-SIGs as incubator, and then they want anything that quote unquote ships with Kubernetes in the Kubernetes tree. They didn't have direction for like having.
Yeah, I think we broke those rules when we created the Kubernetes CSI repo.
That's what I'm saying. Is they may come back and be like, "Hey, get rid of that thing now that we have direction."
Yeah, I mean, if they want to do that, we can consider doing that. I don't know if that's a good idea. I like having a separate organization for the Kubernetes CSI stuff because it's a lot easier. Like considering how many components we already have, if we were to just shove these into a broader Kubernetes storage SIG repo, it would be more likely to just get lost in there.
I'll look exactly the same.
Yeah, and considering we've got the CNCF bots, everything running against this, I'm happy with the way it is right now, unless they come back and try to beat us with a stick.
I thought, didn't you already gone through the legal and check with CNCF about this?
Yeah, I had that discussion late last year. So that's where they came back and basically came in and did all the things that make this a legitimate repository, things like including the code of conduct, having the CNCF CLA bot running on here. So as far as they're concerned, the immediate legal ramifications are addressed. But I think what Brad is getting at is that not just the legal stuff, but more about where the CNCF kind of wants to see these projects incubated. Mm-hmm. They've sent guidance to say that there should be SIG-specific organizations where the SIG projects are incubated. But I think we've got enough of a momentum in this organization that it's shouldn't be an issue. And if it is, I'd like to push back pretty forcefully to argue for its existence.
Is there a precedence, or are we setting a precedence on this?
With creating a separate repository organization?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, we are. Yeah, we. I don't think there's anybody else that has done it, but we've kind of got the ball rolling, and here we are.
Yeah, sometimes we do the try and catch method.
Yeah, but completely fair points, Brad. I say let's leave it where it is for now, and if we get a lot of pushback, then we can address it. For the CSI Common one, if we find that it is useful, maybe move it under some like library or something.
This is what I think it should be called. Kubernetes as CSI Common, and on the README it should say deprecated. Please don't use this.
If it is useful, deprecate it.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for that. Any other comments on that?
Yeah. Do we have any mailing list or something where we can announce the deprecation of this library? Because I think people use it.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I will send out an email. I will send it out.
Yeah, probably SIG storage.
Yeah, I'll send it out to both ours and SIG storage.
So
and then people, and they'll figure it out once it's not there anymore.
That's a terrible, terrible answer.
So the reason why since I've been out for a couple of weeks, so we're taking CSI Common because no one is supporting it, or it's not working. It's broken.
I'm not sure.
No. So okay. So look, after writing 3 drivers, CSI Common it was supposed to be a common area for the sample drivers to check their incoming gRPC requests. So just like the if statements, if you don't have the volume ID, I'm going to return this. And if you don't have this, I'm going to return. And what happened was that it was supposed to be a simple thing, but it kind of grew from that into more, because since you're using multiple drivers, you need to register, you need to do these things.
Right.
Okay. But that mechanism is really not necessary when you write a single driver, because in a single driver, you just are implementing your single Golang function, and you put your if statements in that, and then you're done. Right. But so what I'm trying to say is that CSI Common made sense when we were writing a lot of sample drivers, right?
Right.
But now that we're saying, look, everybody has, we have drivers that are more realistic now.
Right.
And
each driver is different anyway.
Yeah, each driver is different. You should check. They should be responsible for checking these things, right?
Okay.
So
I think I would say if we're gonna kill it, just make sure maybe we'll leave the directory and just document that it's no longer supported for those reasons you just.
I can do that. That's a great idea. And just deprecate it. Please don't use this anymore.
Yeah.
But I tell you one thing is like in both SIG storage in Slack I have CSI pinging me every few seconds. So every time Slack says anyone types CSI on anywhere, it pings me. And the question most of the time is, why do I need to use CSI Common, and why do I need to use it? And just like I keep saying, you don't need to use it. You just go right to the interface. And just like Jinx just said, she thought it was necessary, right? It's just I want to take the confusion out of the way.
Makes sense.
Okay.
FS type parameter from storage class is merged. Woot woot.
All right. Cool.
Okay. So what do you want to do with that? Is that for the next version of the?
Yes, I think we should put this off for the next version.
So 0.3 when the next CSI comes out. Okay.
All right. I need to take a look at that.
Yeah, let me know what you think too.
Okay, yeah. I think Chris had asked me to take a look at it for something. I want to make sure whatever you did is addressing one of his concerns.
Oh yeah,
so,
if you could take a look at that PR, that'd be great.
Yep.
Okay, let's go through PRs that need attention.
I just put a couple of notes.
Okay.
One is liveness probe may need like CNCF kind of things in it and needs to be branched and versioning. So does it repo that's added after? It doesn't have a branch right now.
Are you on the call? He's not. Okay. Let me, so it needs
I could do that. I'll do it.
Okay, perfect. For the CNCF stuff, send me a message and I'll get that ball rolling.
And second thing is that CSI Sanity, we're going to move it to repo on container storage interface. So I'm asking for a repo. Like, could you just take it as is and just take it over there?
Yeah. The only thing I think I'm going to echo Shing's concern of breaking things. As much as we're still pre 1.0, let's make sure that we don't break stuff. But yes, ultimately CSI Sanity should have its own repo as well. I agree, because it should have separate independent releases.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're taking it as is, like the whole repo over. So any dependency, like I have a dependency on the Sanity thing, I'll just update the repo, right? But I need it there first for it to go.
Right, but if you delete the current,
I'm not gonna do it. No, it will just be deprecated. It said, please use this repo from now on.
Okay, and then eventually you could phase it out. Okay, seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Luis.
Yeah.
Let's go through PRs that need attention. So updates to docs. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at this. I think you've been working on a lot of stuff. So.
No, sorry, no.
Okay, no, that's cool. You've been working on a lot. This stuff is already green. External provisioner cherry pick. So we can get rid of that. PR in CSI test for CSI Sanity. So this was adding node stage and node unstage to CSI Sanity. I think David was going to take a look at it.
Yeah, it's a lot of issues with it.
He had a couple of nits, so we're just waiting for those to be addressed. Does anybody know who this person is?
No.
Okay.
But I haven't seen any update to that for a while, so we'll just keep.
Maybe worth poking them offline.
Yeah.
Okay. So status awaiting author response to review. Bugs that need attention. So FS type, there was a PR that just got merged. So I think we're good there. Status PR merged will be part of 0.3 release. So we go ahead and mark that green. CSI end-to-end test is occasionally flaky, but thankfully, Luis has updated 0.21 with new bug fixes and pointed the end-to-end test to that tag. Hopefully that gets rid of the flakes. We'll keep this around and take a look at it next time. Jan added an issue last time about AttachedTimeouts. We agreed that adding timeouts and exponential back off to the attacher was good and we should do it, and that the drivers could decide what would actually happen when a timeout occurs. I believe Jan is still working on this. Jan, do you have any updates on it?
No, I didn't even start.
Okay, no worries. If anyone else on the call is interested in helping out with this, feel free to reach out to Jan. And long list of stuff that Luis has finished. Any other updates anybody else wants to give? Otherwise, we'll go through the task list real quick and call it a day. Okay. So we have a item to modify the sidecar containers to output a version when they come up. This is just so that for debugging. If you had a chance to start on this, Luis.
I created issues for each one, but no, I haven't started it.
I have a PR for attacher.
Oh man!
Oh, nice. Nice.
So
I will
if
review it.
I'm not at the computer, so I can't say you PR number, but it is there. You can check its output, and if we agree that's the right format, I can put it to all.
Sweet.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sweet. Thanks. I'll go ahead and mark that as orange. It started. Block volume alpha support. Any updates on this, Vlad?
Nothing right now.
Okay.
My next step is to get a proposal going, hopefully before Copenhagen.
Cool. I'm going to go ahead and mark that as red. And topology support is also red because I've been bogged down with KubeCon stuff as well. Cubelet device plugin integration, Vlad, any updates?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark all those red.
Okay.
Pull driver registrar labeling logic into Cubelet. Is Felipe on the call? Okay, we'll get an update from him hopefully next time. Otherwise, we can ping him offline. Find a permanent home for unowned important drivers. Looks like Luis has a lot of progress here with a proposal. Add feedback to proposal.
And it'll probably happen after. When do you want me to wait on this? Or should I act on it now, or do you want to
whatever
wait
makes sense to you. You can do it after KubeCon. You could do it closer to the end of the quarter. I don't think this is super high priority, so whatever works best for you. The only thing is that when we do it, let's do it thoughtfully and make sure that we update all the links and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Take it step by step.
Yep. All right, cool. In-tree volume plugins will be deprecated. David, are you on the line? Or Jan, do you want to give an update on this since you've been working with David?
We started Google Docs with some design, and it's, in my opinion, it's in quite early stage, and it's going to be interesting.
It will be very interesting. I think this is probably the biggest thing that the SIG is going to do in the next couple of quarters. The devil is the details.
It would save us a lot of effort if we could not support the downgrade. Like I have a Kubernetes that's using internal volume plugins. Now I upgrade to Kubernetes that uses CSI drivers with some translation in between, but there would be no way to downgrade.
Yeah.
If you want to support downgrade, then this is really interesting.
Yeah, I put it all in the design doc. My gut feeling is that it's unlikely that we would be able to get away with the design without any.
Yeah, I think so.
We are aiming out of tree running for a while before we. I mean, I don't think we want to enable like the AWS CSI volume and deprecate the in-tree one at the same time.
Absolutely. So I think this is going to be a phased out rollout. It would be alpha, beta, GA, where alpha it's opt-in, beta it's opt-out. But
yes, of course.
The downgrade that Jan is mentioning, I think, is independent of that.
Yeah.
Kubernetes has a year on the API, right? Like, so even if you put out a deprecation notice on this, it can't.
No. Kubernetes API is supported forever. You can't remove API until you release V2, but nobody's even talking about V2 API. So we support API forever.
So are you expecting the AWS EBS type to start using the CSI driver versus the volume driver at some point?
Yes,
that is what the
exactly. And once you switch, it's hard to switch back.
Will any of the sample drivers be remaining in tree? Like for example, like the host path, not
So I was talking to David about what the set of volume plugins are that we should migrate. For the initial set, it should be the cloud provider volumes because there's a big driver to push cloud provider code out of tree. And that's kind of like the most immediate need. So anything that has any cloud provider dependency should be our first priority to push out. Second priority would be any type of remote volume plugin. This could be Cinder, iSCSI, NFS, Portworx, whatever. And then after that, we can consider ephemeral volumes and local storage. I think ephemeral volumes are probably the set that should remain in tree, mostly because of the performance benefits and things like every single pod has a secret volume. Making that a CSI driver is probably not the best idea. And considering it's Kubernetes specific, I would be perfectly okay leaving that in tree. Host path as well. So the Kubernetes specific volumes, I'm okay leaving in tree. Local storage, kind of, I can see it both ways, but I'm willing to punt that, kick that can down the line and figure that out later. It's not a priority.
So does that mean we also need to add snapshot support for the remaining in-tree drivers?
Good question. I forget if I replied to the email about this. It depends on what the timeline for snapshots is going to be. It would be worth talking to David and Jan and figure out what the timeline for this process is going to be. If it turns out that it'll be at least maybe 3-4 quarters before this happens, then it might be worth getting snapshots updated. Actually, it might still be worth doing because eventually it will pipe through to CSI anyway. So you'll have to, if you want these plugins to support snapshotting, you're going to have to update them, and then eventually they'll proxy to CSI. So I think you'll have to do it anyway.
Okay, so we still need to do both. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, if you want to have snapshots, and we have snapshots just in CSI, then you can switch by yourself to CSI.
Yeah.
And leave the internal volume plugin just lying there.
Yeah, you could say that the internal plugins will never implement snapshots, and if you want snapshots, you should use CSI directly.
I'm all for that.
Might be a good way to force people to start moving over to CSI as well.
It's like a carrot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll leave it up to you to decide, Shing. I don't have a very strong opinion on it.
Okay.
All right. Next up is how do credentials get passed on to subsequent calls? Status of this is that it got merged by Jordan Liggett. It got merged. Thank you to Jordan for all the hard work on this. The only thing remaining is updating the docs. Jordan was asking where the docs are. I pointed him to the Kubernetes CSI docs and the dynamic provisioning page. We should document what the external provisioner storage class accepts as parameters here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that green since it's pretty much done and the only thing remaining is documentation. Any updates on the snapshot side, Shing?
Yeah, well, snapshot side right now, a big problem is there's a GitHub issue. Some folks couldn't view the PR anymore. They just see this big unicorn. So James was saying he said he still could not view it, and he was suggesting to use something like a reviewable.io. But that I thought somebody was talking about removing that thing, right? I don't
think we have reviewable enabled on CSI repository.
Okay.
I think it's only enabled in Kubernetes.
It's a reviewable. You can use it on anything. It just uses the GitHub APIs, so you can use it. You can use it right now whatever you wanted, even if they never even wanted it.
Yeah, so to catch everybody up on the issue, Xing has a very nice large PR out for snapshots, adding snapshots to CSI in the container storage interface organization under the spec repo. The problem is it's so large that GitHub is dying opening it up, especially if you are a maintainer of the container storage interface project. You tend to see it much more. So the folks who are actually responsible for merging this thing basically can't see it. And that's been a problem. Reviewable might be a way to get around that.
Is it that it has too many comments, or is it that the diff is too big?
I suspect it's the comments because when I first submitted it, they can view it, right? It was like just in recent weeks.
Yeah,
in the last few weeks it became
maybe create a new one and say this is.
You can try that. Branch it and say, see if people can view it, and if they can, we can close out the old one and start the new one.
Yeah.
Okay, just
that's probably easier.
Move all the changes and just to see. Okay,
yeah,
but then you lose all the history, isn't it? Okay.
No. You still have the old one. You still point to say this is a continuation of number whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
then put the reason on there. Like
that's
too many comments. So.
And that's easier.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try that and see if it helps.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and other than that, I've studied working on the coding.
Okay.
But it's good to have this spec merged.
Yeah. I think there's consensus on the CSI community, just the people who have to approve it can't open it.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Xing.
Okay.
Next up, CSI driver for AWS. Jan, any progress on this?
Not at all.
Okay. If anybody on the call is interested in helping out with this, please reach out to me or Jan, and we'll point you to the right direction. I think it's really important that we get this driver out soon because it will be required for when we decide to do the entry volume migration. AWS is one of the volume plugins that we'd like to migrate. So ideally, if we could get somebody from Amazon to pick this up and own it, that would be amazing. I know.
Yeah. I am talking to SIG AWS. I was there already twice on their meetings, and they are interested. They want to contribute, but they want to create new sub-project for that, and they don't have process for creating sub-projects, so we are waiting for that for a couple of weeks already, and it takes a long time.
Yep, got it.
It's not like SIG storage where everybody knows what to do. Just do things. They
go create a repo and ask for.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Ask for forgiveness later.
Exactly right. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks for helping drive that. Hopefully that gets resolved soon. Dynamic maximum volume count. I'm not sure if Hamad's on the call, but he's working very actively to get this into the CSI spec. We just had an hour-long discussion about the PR, and it looks like we've made some good progress there. Hopefully that'll get resolved soon as well. Move to CSI Sanity in the spec repo. This is what Luis was mentioning earlier. I think we're okay with that. So we have consensus. The rest of these are P3s, and then we have a couple of P2s to find an owner, or P1s to find an owner for Flex Volume and the iSCSI drivers. Brad, is this something that you might be able to help with, especially with the iSCSI one?
Yeah, yep.
Cool. I think that's all that we have today. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Let's bring up the CSI Flex Volume at the SIG storage. Has Shopper showed up to any of this stuff? I mean,
he has not, so I think he's out this quarter. He kind of was engaged a little bit last quarter, but only for part of the quarter, and this quarter he's kind of not been engaged at all.
Okay.
But yeah, we can bring this up at the storage SIG.
We're not trying to target this for anywhere close to 111, right? Maybe 112.
No, it's just one of those nice to have things where we had it. It was working with CSI 0.1, and it just kind of never got updated to 0.2, so it's fallen out of compatibility. And it would be nice to have this working and having someone own it, so that folks who are using Flex can have an easy way to play around with CSI as well.
Okay, and the external provisioner is pretty active though, right? I guess people like just having a shell script for the external provisioner part, but not necessarily the mount on mount.
You mean the external provisioner, Kubernetes CSI external provisioner?
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of active development on that.
That's curious.
What do you mean by shell script?
Well, it was calling out to a shell script. I haven't looked at it recently to do the provision call.
The external provisioner?
Yeah. Looks like it's changed.
Oh,
sorry, I haven't looked at this in a while.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were referring to the Flex.
Well, at one point it did support calling out to a shell script, like there was a CSI Flex provisioner. Anyways, I'll follow up with this.
Cool. All right, thanks, Brad. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I'll ask internally to see if anybody's interested in
Perfect.
looking at the Flex stuff for CSI.
All right, I've got to run. Take care, everyone. We'll see you on Friday.
All right.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.